He was born with a pair of sharp scissors hands, no matter what it is, as long as it can be cut. He always trims neatly. The unkempt little dog was pruned by him, directly turned into an elegant poodle, so all the little dogs in the village became his clients. An aunt saw him cut so well. I actually asked him to have his hair cut directly. Unexpectedly, the effect was equally satisfying. The scissor's name is Edward. He's not a human being. It's a semi-finished robot scientist. Created him because he was too lonely. When bored, he will tell Edward jokes, and taught him human etiquette. Edward listened and gradually felt like he was a human being. Now he only needs one hand. On Christmas Day, scientists have prepared a gift for Edward. Just put these hands on. Edward will become a true human being. But at this moment, the scientist died in front of Edward. Those hands were also shattered by the fall. Pobbish Edward is more concerned about the safety of scientists. He stroked the scientist's face with heartache. The scissors are too sharp. Directly cut the scientist's cheek. From now on, Edward lives alone in the castle like this. And his face was covered in scars. It represents the justice that he once embraced himself. I don't know how long it took. At the foot of the ancient castle, a small town gradually emerged. Peggy is an active cosmetic salesperson. My daily job is to promote cosmetics in the community. But not many people bought it. Peggy, who couldn't find a client, saw a prominent castle on the mountain. I thought there must be a big customer living inside. So Peggy drove to the gate of the castle. Weeds are overgrown outside the ancient castle. A wilderness. But when Peggy walks up and takes a look, inside, it was well organized. Happy Page immediately walked into the castle, finding your own big accounts. But after searching for a long time, I couldn't see a single person. Finally, I found Edward curled up in the dark corner of the attic, watching Edward's terrifying figure walk towards him. Page's constant apologies. After a few simple exchanges, Page found Edward living alone in the castle. I couldn't help but feel sympathy for him, so I decided to take him down the mountain. Living with oneself and family. After arriving at Page's cozy cabin, Edward's Peggy family photo suddenly discovers that he's in love with the person in the photo. Peggy's daughter, Tuya, has traveled a long way, so Peggy arranged for Edward and to sponsor him in his room. Although Edward may seem dangerous, but he has a very simple and kind heart. The family who loved Page gradually accepted him, and Edward's scissors are not useless either, so his memory is very superb. Trim the green plants to the desired shape. He speaks as if he had mastered Edward's gardening skills in reverse. In an instant, money in the small town, Edward's neighbors and aunts all came to visit. I hope to have a party with Edward. At the barbecue, Edward's works are very popular among the audience. Under the embrace of my aunt, Edward became a gardener in the small town. Edward successfully got a job. Cocoa is, but there is no reward. But money doesn't matter. It's no use Edward taking the money. What's important is, Edward, this lonely child, finally has his own home. He is loved by everyone in the small town. Life has transformed from unchanging loneliness to beloved excitement. This is the first time he has felt the love of the world. Laugh like a child. This day, Ajin and her boyfriend returned from another city, discovering that Edward's little heart was almost scared out while sleeping in his own bed. The first meeting between the two was very bad. Ajin hates this strange person very much, and Ajin's father even deceived himself into drinking. Even more, he made a fool of himself in front of Ajin. During meals, Edward used scissors to cut barbecue meat for his beloved Ajin. But Ajin disliked Edward's scissors for being too dirty. Your hands are covered in bacteria. Edward had to humbly retract his hand. In order not to think about Ajin's situation, Edward was buried in his work day and night. He has beautifully trimmed the garden in the community, and he also trimmed the dog's hair. This opened up a new track for him. The aunts in the town come in admiration. I hope Edward can trim the hair of his dog, and he directly became Teacher Tony. Aunties watch as they become more and more beautiful. I couldn't help but give Edward a thumbs up. One time, Edward has a great reputation, even on TV shows. Ajin also gradually discovered Edward's goodness, starting to pay attention to him gradually. But Ajin's boyfriend saw it in his eyes. Pain in the heart. In order to prevent my girlfriend from changing her heart, he tricked Ajin into taking Edward to steal his own house. But when Edward enters the house, he was locked directly in the house, and the boyfriend drove away with the others. After Edward was caught by the police, didn't reveal his accomplice. Last, the police station has been living alone for a long time with Edward. Lacking a sense of right and wrong, he was released. But the police officer was very worried about Edward. Simple and flawless person like him, it's easy to be exploited by bad people, will cause irreversible harm to Edward. The incident of Edward's arrest quickly became a topic of discussion among the aunts after dinner. I'm afraid the next one to be stolen is my own house. In an instant, Edward's situation has undergone a tremendous change. The customers who made appointments for a haircut have cancelled their orders one after another. And through this matter, Ajin, thoroughly recognizing the nature of my boyfriend. Why is Edward so cold to others? A person ran to the room to vent their grievances. The story of Edward is spreading in the small town, becoming more and more alluring. Auntie, because she couldn't get Edward. even started fabricating rumors. The story of Edward is getting more and more outrageous as it spreads. Everyone began to develop hostility towards Edward. Christmas is coming soon. The Edgy family started preparing for the Christmas party. Edward carved an angel out of ice in the yard. As Edward waved his scissors, ice chips are falling down one after another. It's like a continuous snowfall. A djinn danced gracefully against the snowflakes. The scissors accidentally scratched a djinn, and this scene happened to be seen by a djinn's boyfriend. Seeing this, my boyfriend, who was already unhappy with Edward, drove him away. Long-term repression has made Edward, who loves young, unable to control his emotions anymore. He tore his clothes in anger. Cut off the green paper I trimmed myself. Punctured a car tire. After venting, Edward's mood has improved, but it sparked dissatisfaction among the aunts. Accused by aunts, Edward has returned home again. His biggest concern is whether a djinn's hand is injured or not. A djinn felt Edward's love. He asked Edward to give him a hug. Cute Dihua's hands are too sharp. Cannot hug others. He is afraid of his beloved being hurt. A djinn's younger brother is preparing to go home, but a djinn's boyfriend got drunk, driving a car and crashing into my younger brother. After Edward saw it, desperately saved my younger brother, but unintentionally, he scratched his younger brother's face. Everyone who arrived thought Edward was going to commit murder, and at this moment, a djinn cursed his boyfriend. My boyfriend, who couldn't bear it, vented his anger on Edward, hit Edward with one punch and one punch. But then the police arrived. They deliberately slowed down the speed. Drive Edward back to the castle. I don't want everyone to hurt him anymore. Speaking right. A djinn came to the castle and found Edward, but then my boyfriend also followed over. He picked up a pistol and aimed it at Edward. Fortunately, a djinn stopped in time. The infuriated boyfriend threw a djinn to the ground. Edward saw a djinn being hurt. Finally, for the first time, I had a killing heart. He stabbed his scissors into his boyfriend's stomach, pushed him down a tall building, and at this point, aunties happened to arrive. Saw my boyfriend's body. Here, a djinn and Edward finally have no one to disturb a djinn anymore. Looking at the person you love, give him a gentle kiss. But a djinn had to leave. At the moment of departure, he picked up a pair of scissors, and then walked out the door, to the computer. See. Everyone, this matter has finally come to an end. But from now on, a djinn has never seen Edward again. Years later, a djinn has already transformed from a beautiful and charming girl to a white-haired old man, telling Edward's story to his granddaughter. Strangely enough, since Christmas that year, a small town that never snows, it snows heavily every Christmas. Edward's memories in the castle day after day, those who brought him love. He is still young, still waving his sharp scissors, carving all the best things in his heart. When he misses a djinn, a heavy snowfall descended upon the sky. But a djinn is getting old. He never went to see Edward again. He's just standing by the window, looking at the gloomy castle from afar. It's just snowing all over the sky. A djinn danced with joy in his heart.